Shout out to China. Chinese viewers, if there's a few of you out there, rejoice. You've signed one of my legends, or at least Shanghai Port have. Now, Davis has already made the move to China, and on the 1st of January, one of our players is going to be joining him. And that might come as a little bit of a shock, because it's Aaron Ramsey, and not only is he going to China, we've sold him to Shanghai Port for £35 million. I mean, let's be absolutely clear for just a moment. This guy has not featured in the team this year. He's been unhappy about his salary for the last few years. He was running into the last 18 months of his contract. When I was informed there was interest in China, we offered him out. Shanghai Port came in. This outrageous offer's been made. He's only played 2 games for me all year. So as you can imagine, I'm quite excited for January, not only for our overall balance to receive all that money, but also to potentially spend some of that new transfer budget. Things have been going well since you were last here, but today, a real test. Man City away, followed by Fulham at home. One we should win, one we're probably not going to win. Let's run the intro and get straight into things. Yes, folks, how is it going? And a warm welcome back. It's episode number 53 of Park to Prem here with Wanderers FC. And like I said, things have been going really, really well. We concluded last episode with a convincing 3-0 win. And since then, we've been in some really good form. Saying all of that, I did lose the very next game. Having beaten Brentford 3-0, we took on Leicester, who at the time was second from bottom. They won 3-0. Andy White scored 2. The good news is this is the only defeat I've had in the recent run of games. The not so good news is Leicester now don't look like they're going to be relegated, so that relegation release clause is probably going to remain inactive. From that defeat, though, we have bounced back and we've looked really, really good. 7 games unbeaten, 3 draws in there as maybe a little less than ideal. That started with a draw against Wolves, who themselves are not a bad little team. Rashid Mohammed pulled us a late equaliser, which was great to see. One of a number of players in the first team who really has improved this year. We followed up that draw with a win, 6-2 against Burnley. Great to see goals scored there. Nicky Meredith getting a hat-trick was great to see. He struggled for goals initially. He's looking a lot better now. And from there, we kept a really good run of form going. 2-0 against West Ham was really, really good. Gavin Gallagher with a goal there. We're going to talk about him shortly. He got man of the match in that game. A draw against Tottenham was a tad disappointing, especially because Gavin Wallace, who scored the opening goal for us, got injured in this game. As you can see here, broke his ribs. He's going to be out for about 2 months, which is a real shame because he has developed a lot this year. First year really where we've been giving him regular first team football. His development in the last 6 months is impressive. If we look at his all-time development, he's gained 9 on decisions. I don't understand how it's gone up by that much, but I'm happy for it. Obviously, with Wallace's absence, I was a little bit concerned, but I didn't need to be because we managed to beat bottom of the table Bournemouth 2-0. Of course, they're still struggling, having been in administration earlier on in the year. And then after that, we managed to beat Crystal Palace. Again, Rashid Mohammed getting the winning goal. Sadly, most recently against Aston Villa, we drew 4-4. I say sadly, we were actually 4-1 down in this game with about half an hour left, and we came back to get a point. I'm really happy with that. Last year, Villa finished 2 points ahead of us. Right now, they are 2 points ahead of us, but crucially, we're in 6th. They're in 5th. Yeah, we are up to 28 points for the year. We are looking really, really impressive. To be fair, we've not been in the bottom half of the table all year, but this recent run of forms has seen us climb a little bit, albeit when you look at the list of teams that we've played, with the exception of Tottenham, I kind of viewed these games as all winnable. Good to see, though, that we were able to bounce back, especially having had that run of defeats and then losing to Leicester. Lots to be positive about. At the end of today's video, we will be at the halfway point in the season, and I feel like this is a good chance to kind of reflect on the squad and discuss how things are going so far. And I think the first thing we have to acknowledge is the fact we are surpassing all expectations for the year. From a goal-scoring point of view, I really thought we were going to be leaning on Sheldon for goals this year. He is, by a country mile, our best player. Of course, he broke his toe and missed 7 weeks, and it was 7 weeks during a period where we did have a lot of games in December he wasn't able to feature in. He's played in the last few and started to look at his best, but the run of form that we've had really has been despite him being out. Of course, Will Lankshire's had an injury this year. Rashid Mohammed, unfortunately, has managed to get injured again. Fitness test not required. I'm probably not going to risk him for this one, but he has been an important player popping up with some winning goals. And when it comes to our midfield, I'm really happy with how Gallagher and Flood have kind of worked out. Originally, I brought in Gallagher to be the understudy to Flood. Gallagher has been improving a hell of a lot. Of course, these are 2 players who play alongside one another in the Ireland national team. Never really envisaged Gavin Gallagher being that go-to defensive midfielder option for us. Of course, when we play with 3 strikers, he operates as a segundo volante, which when you look at it, actually, he does tick a lot of the boxes for that role. And of course, when we do decide we want to be a bit more defensive, as that defensive midfielder support. Yes, it doesn't lean into his creativity to the same degree, but he's more than up to the task, I feel like, of doing this role too, and that's kind of reflected in the fact that so far this year, he's got a 7.0 rating. I know that doesn't sound impressive, but as I've said many a time on the channel, defensive midfielders just never get good ratings in Football Manager. Elsewhere, Caleb Anson's been really, really good since he came back from his injury. In terms of his save percentage, it's actually the second best in the Premier League. He did miss, of course, a period where he dislocated his shoulder. To be fair, that period of games he missed was when we played against Liverpool, Manchester United, Newcastle and Arsenal, so maybe that helps him a little bit statistically. But I think what is inarguable is the fact that he is putting in some really, really good performances. 3 clean sheets in 11 is not too shabby. A 7.13 rating is actually a really good rating, I feel like, for a goalkeeper, and he was a player who I thought might come under a bit of scrutiny this year if we struggled. The good news for us is he's actually improved on last year. Another player who's improved a lot, actually, is Flood. Not really acknowledge this. The last 6 months, he has improved perhaps at the best rate he's improved since he joined the club. Appreciate some of his technicals have gone down, but across the board, we're seeing nice, steady growth. Again, when you look at him here, you can see since he arrived to us, of course, released by Aston Villa, he really has been a revelation. He is running the midfield. The only minor issue with Flood, he's only got 2.5 years left on his current contract. He wants a new contract. He wants to be guaranteed to be the highest earner. He is starting to think he's a superstar, and to be fair, when you look at his rating and his performances, he might be right. I know it's really easy to dismiss the fact that we're sick for us getting a little bit lucky. I think back to last year when we looked at the XG table and we were always around mid-table and just underperforming statistically. This year it does feel like it's balanced out a little bit. In fact, when you look at our expected position, we're actually up in 4th. We've definitely been better from a defensive point of view this year, which has helped us massively. And actually, when you look at goal scoring, ourselves and Man City are leading the way. Of course, we are playing them today. From a defensive point of view, maybe there's room for improvement, but it's actually been quite a low goal scoring season. And you know what? When you look at our goal difference, I can stomach conceding 25 if it means we're going to keep scoring like we are. In terms of the formation we've been using this year, I have more commonly been starting with the centre attack in mid-shape, although going to the 3 strikers has definitely been something we've looked to do when we are chasing games and needing to get goals, and maybe trying to press home an advantage against weaker teams. You can see in terms of kind of the minutes played here and the chances created, actually, overall, the 3 striker system does create a little bit more, but ultimately, there's actually not a huge difference between them. I suppose the natural question at this point is, where am I going to look to invest £30+ million? If there is an opportunity to invest it, and I think it would be at the back. I think centre-backs wise, we could look to improve things. To be fair, in our recent games, we've actually looked really good defensively, but I do look at Hoey and kind of view him as perhaps the weak link in the team. I feel like Arian B is more than capable of doing the job we ask of him, and actually, Rolk of all of our defenders has the best rating for the season so far at 7.08. Of course, Hoey does play a more limited role as a regular kind of defender when we play the 2 striker system, because I like to have him just sit a little bit more. But when we do play the 3 at the back system, because ball playing defenders look to launch the ball forward more, I find it's a bit advantageous to also have him on that role to try and pick out the strikers, especially the pressing forwards if they drop deep. Obviously, when I call upon him to do the ball-playing defender role, you have to look at the 8 passing and 10 vision and question it slightly. If I was going to tell you the biggest disappointment this year, probably Matthew Miller. I feel like that's not entirely surprising. We set him up for we set him up for success. No, we set him up really for failure, in all honesty. Spent a lot of money on him, playing him as a right wing-back, a role that he has now picked up massively. To be fair, despite the outlay on him of £17 million, his value is now 35 to 45 million, and obviously he's still got room to grow. Have been trying to play him a little bit more in league games. He's actually only started 1 game this year. I feel like it's a little bit unfair to constantly be throwing a player on off the bench for 30 minutes. They get a 6.7 rating and then you disregard them. I'd like to give him more opportunities in the second half of the year. And whilst at the moment we are definitely in the fight for maybe the Europa Conference League spots or a European spot of sorts, I do look at the likes of Newcastle, Chelsea, Manchester United, all teams behind us right now who I have to assume are going to have better second halves to the season. If they do start to catch up, I'm probably going to end up viewing the second half of this season where it is a chance to rotate the team, give young players as much time as possible, and let them develop. The training ratings across the board have been absolutely through the roof here. The team is training well. We're playing well on the pitch too. Things are just good right now. Anyway, saying all of that, it could all crumble rather quickly because game on today, Manchester City away. Of course, when we met them last time at this stadium, last game of last year, we drew against them to deny them the title. At the moment, they're running away with the league. We're going to try and stop them again. Now, in terms of team news for this one, of course, Gavin Wallace is out injured at left-back. Rashid Mohammed coming back from injury as well. Mentioned the fact that Meredith has been in some improved form as of late. Actually had a really good showing last game against Aston Villa with a goal and an assist. He is going to be accompanied by Lancashire and Sheldon in the final third. Of these players, Sheldon is actually the one struggling. Still coming back from injury. Going to hope that now he's got his match fitness back. Also, I got confused by all the green arrows here. It's because it was showing his development for all time. I'm thinking, what's happened there? He's become the greatest footballer of all time, and now have all the improvements vanished now? No, they're still there. That's a weird bug. I've never seen that bug before with TCS skin. I guess it's to do with the attribute panel that this bit calls. If I go back and forth, nope, he's just the greatest footballer ever. Anyway, that minor distraction aside, we are going to get into the game today. Man City v Wanderers. Let's try and cause another upset. You're probably wondering, Jack, why are you playing the free striker system here? Truthfully, I feel like we're probably going to lose against Man City no matter what. And given the fact they like to play with liberos in Football Manager when I've played them before Man City, I feel like playing with free strikers, trying to harass them as they play out from the back, might be our small route to success. So that's what I'm going to try. I could sit back and get battered, or I could try and kind of, I don't know, take some impetus to them and really try and put them on the back foot. Might as well give it a go. They've got Endrick up top for this game, so mercifully for me, they've dropped Erling Haaland for this guy. I'll be honest, it's not much of a step down in quality, is it? 10 minutes into this game, look, they're going to play the ball out from the back. This is why we're playing the free striker system. Admittedly, they have immediately just navigated that initial press, and now it's Oscar Bob leaving it to Timber. We have so many players back here, even when we play the more attacking system. They beat that initial press. Yeah, you've got past three strikers. You've still got 7 more outfield players planted firmly in our box to kind of try and deal with here. Numa gives it back to Malo Gusto, who's made a controversial move to Manchester in this save game. Endrick gives the ball back to Chalobah. Now, Quarantin Timber with the ball cuts inside and gives it to Oscar Bob. And that shot was not far wide. You know what? 0-0 after 20 minutes, I've decided to encourage the players. They are all well happy. You'd think with the attacking system on display, if they got past our initial press, we'd be in trouble. But I suppose the defensive resilience is on show here. There's not been any shots on target in this game. There's 10 minutes left of the half. Man City pressing home an advantage at the end of this half, but there's 2 minutes of added time. They're going to come and go. Woeful from a YouTuber trying to make an entertaining episode point of view. Great performance in terms of selfishly playing Football Manager and wanting to do well. We have been on a run of really good defensive performances as of late. I suppose the fact we've held Manchester City level is kind of testament to that. I'm going to look to make some changes here. Hutchinson coming into the team, lacking a little bit of match sharpness. As a result, Gabadebo I'm going to bring in, I think. Of course, at the moment, we're without Wallace. So Gabadebo's the man at left wing-back, who I think can do a job for us on occasion. Love his physicals. I feel like, especially with our system, our midfielder kind of setup needs to be full of runners. Gabadebo, definitely a runner. A little bit concerned by Hoey on a 6.5 rating. You know what? I'm just going to tell him to play as a regular defender. In an ideal world, I want him on the ball-playing defender just to play, more adventurous balls, especially if the Regista and Segundo Volante aren't dropping deep. But he's struggling in this game, and I don't want him to be the reason we concede. One change made at the break. Into the second half, we march. Man City definitely had the better of that first half, albeit they didn't create that much. As this game goes on, I'm going to start to believe that we could hold on and see a result out here. An hour played. There is still nothing happening. Tammy Ajaria's on a booking. Matthew Miller on Newcombe. Elsewhere in the team, Gavin Gallagher. Quiet game by his standards. I'm going to bring in McConnell to play as the Segundo Volante. He's actually really, really well suited to this role, as you can see here. Ticks all the boxes except finishing. And let's be honest, finishing doesn't matter in Football Manager. In the final third, we are looking a little light on players. Sheldon, as you can see here, still gaining match sharpness after his long-term injury. I'm going to bring in Jimmy J. Morgan in the final third. We'll hold on to our last sub for now, but I don't want to change anything in terms of instructions. Just in another shout of encourage. Green, happy, smiley faces across the board here. There is 18 minutes left. There's only actually been one highlight in this game so far. Okay, maybe I've jinxed it here. Hoey gives it to Flood. If I played him on ball-playing defender, would he have done that? We will never know. The good news is, it's not going to cost us immediately. Gabadebo lays it back to Hoey. Flood dropping deep for the ball, lays it towards Morgan. That was an ambitious pass that hasn't quite worked out, and we've given them possession here. Endrick's now playing in a wide area. Do not foul him. Don't let him put the ball in either, though. Oscar Bob scores. It's 1-0. To be fair, Man City probably do deserve that. I mean, Man City have drawn a handful of games this year. They've lost one game all year. So to get a result here was always going to be tough. We've shown a bit of steel, nerve, and I want to say some kind of resilience in this game to hold them for as long as we did. But we do now find ourselves a goal down. And I suppose now we do have to kind of go a little bit more attacking here. Changing our pressing forwards to play an attack. Miller is going to play as a complete full wing back. Gabadebo is going to play as a complete wing back. I want them getting further up the pitch. McConnell, Segundo, Volante on attack. There's a real temptation here to bring on a centre attack in mid. You know what? I think I'm going to do it. Hoey's on a 6.3 rating. I'm going gung-ho here, but I feel like we kind of have to. This is a free hit now. We never thought we'd only be a goal down at this stage against Man City. Why not throw some players forward and just try and make something happen? With all the changes I've made, I was half expecting there to be a highlight of some kind, even if it's just us conceding now that we've basically got 2 players back at all times. Instead, nothing is happening here. I mean, it's a 1-0 defeat against Man City, and I'm annoyed because we've not created more, but at the same time, it's really not a bad performance. Just a bit of a shame that Oscar Bob was able to pop up with that goal so late on in the game. I'm going to tell the boys that they were unlucky. They've all loved that. They've all smiled and clapped. That is probably going to see us drop a position or 2 down the table. In fact, it doesn't, because Wolves didn't manage to win. Shout out to Tottenham doing me a favour up in 3rd. Right, our next game is on the 1st of January. That is when the official transfer of Ramsey is happening as well. I feel like we need to give him some kind of Viking funeral or something as we send him off to China. I mean, a Viking funeral is when like you burn them on a boat, isn't it? Maybe we shouldn't do that if we're sending him to China. We do want the 35 million. Either way, I'm going to continue a few times. Don't go anywhere. A winnable game against Fulham coming up next. I hope. Okay, folks, transfer window is open and we have an opportunity to change our expectations for the season. Going into things, it was an attempt to avoid relegation. We are up in 6th place as we are about to hit the halfway mark. At this point, I'm feeling pretty confident of maybe a mid-table finish. I think anything from 13th and higher is definitely attainable. It's worth noting that Crystal Palace are only 7 points behind us, so it is quite congested in this middle of the pack area. Whereas when you look above us, Liverpool are 6 points clear and quite a way ahead, although they have actually played a game more. At the same time, I'm definitely looking behind me and not up at the top 4. Let's put it that way. But with that in mind, I'm going to up the expectations here. Our current transfer budget is 34 million with £655,000 in wage budget. If I switch it to mid-table finish, 30,000 in wage budget, but also a significant rise in the transfer budget, another 8 million there, would be rather tasty. So we are, of course, going to take that. The window is now open. And if I hit continue once more, Ramsey is not going to be here. He has left for 35 million smackaroonies. But there's something I've not revealed to you. I've already spent some of the money for this transfer on a familiar face. It's not Andy White. Someone's going to assume it's Andy White, and I didn't mean to mislead you. Actually, I say he has a familiar face. He now has a face. He didn't have a face in the summer when we looked to sign him, but Corby Hatwell has joined us from Plymouth Argyle. 18 years old, crazy potential, really, really consistent player who, I'm going to be honest, I've probably overpaid a little bit for at 17 million, but we were eyeing him up in the summer. Our reputation hasn't really climbed all that much during the season so far, so there's not like there's a load of new players I wasn't already aware of available for transfer. I think this guy's going to be a great transfer for the future. I have promised him he is going to be a squad player this year. I do feel like as a defensive midfielder on defend, that's probably going to be his most likely position for us. I do feel like at this point, I may be overburdened with a few too many defensive midfielders. I was thinking that Haig Dolk would be the man I move on. Shanghai Port want Haig Dolk as well. Oh, come here, Shanghai. Let's ask his agent. Mr. Phil, how much do you reckon we can get? There's interest. Shanghai Port, they've not made a bid yet. If I just offer him out for unspecified, Shanghai Port, make a bid. But yeah, in my quest to generate some funds further and also just better round off the squad, because I do think at this point we probably do have too many defensive midfielders. I do feel like Haig Dolk is probably the most logical player to move on. I spent a big money on him at 4.2 million back in the Championship. He's not really featured in the team this year like he did before, and he's just not improved. So if I can make some decent profit, I feel like that would be in my interest. The Aaron Ramsey transfer, by the way, a record sale. The previous record was AA to Aston Villa for 10 million. He is currently on loan in League One. At 21 years old, he He has not got better since I sold him, has he? Aston Villa have not done a good job of developing him. Apparently, Gavin Gallagher has also been linked with Shanghai Port. Have Shanghai Port just discovered that Wanderers exist? Are they just scouting me exclusively? I've got a couple of offers for players here. Louis Binks is a backup left centre-back. He is not going anywhere. Elsewhere, Mick Hugh here has been developing amazingly. I really should have picked this guy up sooner. I'm not going to loan him out to Barnsley here. We signed him at the start of last year for £500,000 in the transfer special, if I'm not mistaken. I kind of viewed him as a good little young player. He has got better and better and better. Bristol Rovers definitely should have been asking for more for him. He has improved so much since he joined the club. We've had the focus on his passing initially, but now we're training him to play as a defensive midfielder. I do feel like there's a future where down the line, Hatswell, which he's not showing here, and Joe play alongside each other. If I was going to predict the future, they could be my two defensive mids in 5 years. 18 years old each, great potential for each of them. I like them a lot. Nicky Meredith's been awarded Young Player of the Month, Rashid Mohammed in second, Andy White in third. Elsewhere, Player of the Month, McConnell has appeared. I'm shocked McConnell's there. I mean, he's got 3 assists, to be fair to him, and he has been in some good form. I'm shocked he's that high. Oh, and in some other team news, of course, Rashid Mohammed missed last game through injury. He's now at AFCON with Morocco until February. So, yeah, we're going to be without him for another month, which is a bit annoying. I'll tell you what, I'd love it if Shanghai Port made a bid for Dolk. That would definitely be helping me out. Also, we need to make payments towards a loan. What loan is this? When do we take a loan? Oh, it's a mortgage loan. I think that was for our stadium. I think that might have been to do with the stadium that we're building. Well, that's annoying, isn't it? I think what we'll do is we'll play this Fulham game. We'll see if Shanghai make a bid, and we might just have a quick little poke around to end the video or what transfers might be available. In terms of team news for the game today, I am going to be sticking with the free striker system. I suppose the advantage of having Meredith over Rashid Mohammed as one of the front three is the fact he can play at centre attacking mid. So if I do want to play on the back foot, try and see out a game, it's very easy just to drop him back and kind of play our old shape without having to make any subs. But Fulham are a team firmly behind us in the table. I feel like we should just be trying to press home our advantage here. You might have spotted as well, Corby Hatswell straight onto the bench. Probably shouldn't play today. He's currently lacking condition. Okay, into this game we go. Fulham have got Shelderup out on the left-hand side. In fact, they've got him on loan from Manchester United. That's a weird transfer, isn't it? Why have Manchester United signed him and then never played him? I pray to God the Football Manager AI is better next year when it comes to transfers. Of course, by next year, I actually mean this year with FM25, which is coming out maybe next month. But you know what? They can keep this in the game. Keep this in. Give us a penalty here, Football Manager. 5 minutes in, we could be gifted an opportunity from the spot. Fulham have given away a penalty, and, well, that has come from absolutely nowhere. Sheldon, coming back from injury, would love him to find his goal-scoring boots that he was wearing last year when he was second top goal scorer in the league. He's going to add a goal there, the number 9. That, for him, is goal number 4 of the season. It has been such a shame he's had so many injuries because he was so important to us last year, but the fact we're doing as well as we are without him, having him coming back into the team for this kind of second half of the season, it's impossible not to feel excited about it. We won our last penalty from a corner. We're whipping the ball in again here, and Fulham not dealing with it all that convincingly. Gallagher is going to mop up the pieces and bring the ball forward. He goes on a mazy run. Sadly, he loses out, but Ajaria, well, he's going to contest the ball there, and we're going to win back possession with plenty of players committed in the final third. Ajaria skips past one, pulls it back to Gallagher. He floats it. Meredith's there. He probably should have kept the header down. Half an hour played in this game, still a goal to the good. We've not really shown a killer edge in this game. It's not like we've created the turn having gone ahead, and now we've got a set piece to deal with. We deal with it somewhat initially, but Shelderup is there. I don't know what's just happened to Anson. I think he dived for the cross, but Shelderup was always going to get on it, and he just had his bum on the ground as the shot was taken. What was this? Do we question Anson for this? I spent a section of the start of today's video bigging him up. What was this? I mean, he just doesn't assume that Shelderup's going to get there, but I'm not sure why he's dived. Up until that goal, we had been in largely control of this game, and all of a sudden, I mean, it's 1-1. It could be anyone's game. That is a lovely little win by Arian B. Buonanotte now has the ball for them and lays it back to Muric in goal. Like I said, Fulham are a team towards the bottom of the table. I don't think they're in the relegation spots or even really in the relegation fight down at the foot of the table. This is definitely a game that, regardless of where they are, we need to be winning. That is a nice win by Flood. Lancashire in behind. Is he onside? He is onside, I think. He shoots. He scores. The linesman didn't raise his flag. And I really need goals like this to count for us. I don't want to be 1-1 at half-time. I want to be ahead, and we are going to be ahead. Lovely run by Lancashire. Flood with a fantastic little header. Meredith dinks it over the top, and a £20 million finish by the £20 million man sees us reinstate the lead. We already conceded kind of indirectly from one corner where we didn't deal with it initially. We have just conceded from another set piece. It's 2-2. That lead lasted 3 minutes. It's a cross to the back post. Who is there at the back post? Shelderupt is leaping alongside someone else. Arian B and Meredith. Just between them, they don't contest the ball. It's a free header. It's a goal. It's 2-2 at the break, and I feel like that really does flatter Fulham somewhat. They've not done a lot in this game. I'm far from pleased with what I just saw. I mean, the silver lining here is the front three are all on really good ratings, but in the wing-back areas, we are looking substandard in this one. I'm going to make some changes. Gabadebo, Miller, on you come. Fresh legs there, I think is always a good idea. Can I hold on to the rest of the subs for now? Don't feel like we've been the second best team in this game. I know they've got quite a high XG, but when you consider where that header was taken from and their other goal as well, like the XGs were always going to be quite high on those singular opportunities. Outside of those, Fulham haven't created a great deal. In terms of possession, it's been very 50-50 in this game, it has to be said. We need to start having a few more shots on target and maybe just trying to control the ball a little better than we have as we give up the ball in a semi-dangerous area. Fulham able to relieve themselves of pressure for now as Muric launches it long. Rolk wins the header and Gallagher's going to be there for the second ball. Our two Irish centre mids running the show, it feels like, in this game so far. Flood, great ball to Gabadebo. Fresh legs in the wide area. Could he find a good ball in? He gives it back to Flood, who can find a good ball, but also has the ability to shoot. And for a moment, just a moment, thought he was going to find the top corner. Lancashire actually has scored and is on a 7.0 rating, but I feel like outside of his goal, he's not done a great deal in this game for us here. I'm going to bring in Jimmy J. Morgan and play him out wide. In the midfield, fresh legs needed. Flood struggling a little bit with his sharpness, or rather his condition. He's played a lot of football lately. Our last game was only 3 days ago. Going to move Gallagher across the play at the regista role. He can play that well. McConnell's going to come in as the segundo volante. I think actually I am going to just encourage the players to hold on to the ball a little bit more, lower the tempo, shorter passing. Just try and have a little more of possession if we can. We've given up the ball a little too much in this game for my liking. Saying that, I've made those changes and instantly the possession has dropped even more. You know what? Scrap that. Let's just play direct. Going to go to more direct and up the tempo. We'll look for overlaps, I think, in the wider area. But I am going to encourage the players to hit earlier crosses into the box. Of course, early crosses when you've got one striker to aim for, maybe not the best idea. We should always have 3 players in the box sniffing out an opportunity. Or at least that's the theory. There's 5 minutes left in this game here. I'm going to go to very attacking in an act of pure desperation because we need a goal. We cannot afford to be slipping up points here. A 1-0 defeat against City is fine. A 2-2 draw against Fulham, or worse, definitely not acceptable. Sheltered up here. Football Manager, Hall of Famer Wonder Kid, dribbling at our defence. Miller fails to put in a tackle, and now it's dinked in behind him. Sheltered up with players in the middle to aim for. Perone is at the edge of the box. He lays it. And Nwaneri, who I declined signing, has scored his first goal of the season against us, and it's a wicked deflection. I did look at signing Nwaneri, didn't I, in the summer? And I know what people are going to say. You should have signed him. He scored against you. You should have signed him. He's so good. That was his first goal of the season. That shouldn't even be his goal. I'm fuming. I mean, at this point, we do find ourselves in familiar territory where I probably just have to throw players forward. Hoey, off you come. Job Bellingham, on you come. Is this desperation? Yes. Is it pretty? Not really. Is it necessary? Abso-bloody-lutely. We have 2 minutes to try and rescue something in this game here. 5 minutes of added time. We've got ourselves a corner. McConnell, bail me out. It's whipped in. It's cleared away. Oh my word, Anson's out of goal. I forgot I went on very attacking. Our goalkeeper is not in goal. Bias shoots. That was almost very awkward. But I am going to stay on very attacking. One day Anson will score. He's like 7 foot tall. Maybe the day could be today, he says. There's a minute left in this game. Fulham are quite happily time wasting in the corner. We've been on such a good run of form of late, and I feel like finally Football Manager has maybe caught up with me a little because we've been dominant in this game. We've not found a way through. They nearly added another. And at this point, I think it's safe to say this game has gone, hasn't it? Shoulder up for them now has the corner. Like I said, I am kind of looking over my shoulder more than looking ahead. Results like this, they're going to happen from time to time. I'd love to finish in the European spots. I feel like a mid-table finish is definitely what we should be aiming for. And based on this performance here, perhaps it's all that we should expect. Shelder has picked up man of the match. He's obviously very, very good. We've already discussed that. Latest scores on the doors. Wolves did manage to win 3-0 at Bournemouth. They go above us. Elsewhere, Chelsea got a win. Remember when Chelsea had one win in like their first 8 or 9? They're now up to 8th. Definitely had the chances to win that game, but win we did not. Fulham actually, I didn't even realise this. Fulham were actually in the relegation zone, but with a game in hand. And they've just managed to beat us. Well, that's blooming annoying, isn't it? Right, like I said, to end things today, I'm going to have a little just peek into the transfer window. Not going to do any transfers right now, but I feel like we should probably look at what's actually available. I'll be honest, the list of players here doesn't look very different to the list of players I was looking at in the summer. In fact, these are all very familiar players. If I sort by transfer value, I was hoping there'd be like a list of new players. No, I've got all the players here scouted. That is concerning, isn't it? I don't know why. I kind of kidded myself into thinking that for some reason there was going to be like loads of new players now that it was the halfway point in the year available. There just isn't. There literally just isn't. I want to find a positive note to end on. I want to see if Haig Dolk gets any bids from China. That would be good. I mean, we've got staff signing new contracts, so that's good. We are currently, of course, still in the FA Cup. We've not even entered the FA Cup technically. I'd love to go on a run in that competition, of course. That's the competition Wanderers has won more than most other teams. I'd love to replicate that success. Shanghai Port made a bid for Dolk. They've offered me £5 million. Shanghai, I know you've got money. Stop trying to scam me. How about... I'd almost take 10 million, to be honest. This is as much about thinning out the squad to maintain morale as anything else. How about 11.5? They've gone up to 6.25. How about 10.5 and 40% of profit? They've accepted that. I feel like I should probably take the money and run here. Haig Dolk's been a decent player for us, but his days are numbered. He's not playing in the team right now. Gavin Gallagher has stolen his place this year and then some. And I think when you compare the players, it's kind of clear why Gavin's stolen his spot. Yeah, £10 million is some good money. I'm going to take it. I mean, of course, he has still got to accept going to China, but hopefully Ramsey can just give him a good word. If we look at our defensive midfielder options, you can see in terms of the hierarchy, he is quite far down the list in terms of ability. £35 million made at the start of the window feels good. There's some money to burn. There might be some more money to burn. And by next episode, there might be some new faces here too. I hope you guys have a lovely, lovely weekend. We will be back at some point in the season. I don't know quite when. We'll leave it up to mystery on Monday for more Park to Prem actions. Take it easy. Have a good weekend, like I already said. And I'll see you on Monday for more. I'm out.